Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to In Conversation With, the podcast series that delves into the world of financial services and brings you face to face with some of the most notable figures in the industry. Listen as we discuss topics that are currently facing the industry and hear from visionary CEOs to disruptive innovators as we bring you a diverse array of voices and perspectives. We'll explore the challenges they faced, the lessons they've learned, and the insights they have to share about the ever-evolving landscape of financial services. Hello and welcome to In Conversation With. I'm Kimberley Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Jo Wall, founder and chartered financial planner at Joyful Wealth. Thank you for joining me today, Jo.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be taking part. So
yeah, great. So could you give us a bit of a background into yourself and how you got started in financial services?
Yeah, so I have been in financial services for coming up for 11 years in November. And like a lot of people, kind of fell into the industry, started in a customer service based role in Barclays doing consumer credit and complaints, things like that. Realised that I quite enjoyed it, quite like the customer service side of it, the people side of things, as well as the numbers and obviously the finances side of it. Then made the move to become a mortgage broker. There is a bit more a story, but I'll give you a whistle-stop tour. So I was a mortgage broker for just under 3 years, specialising in investment, property, portfolio landlords and buy-to-let. Really loved being able to kind of get involved in people's kind of wider circumstances, but always felt like there was something missing. So I could advise them on how to structure their portfolio or how to manage the properties and do things so that things are running really efficiently. But I couldn't give them the advice on, say, the tax planning aspects of it, whether that was inheritance or personal tax or capital gains tax planning. And that just kind of bugged me because I could see massively the value that was there for clients. So took the leap into power planning, decided to do that whilst I was getting my qualifications, build my experience in the kind of wider financial services and financial advice space, and then did it so that I could then eventually move into financial advice itself. So been doing that for 11 or so years now and absolutely loving it. And yeah, basically decided about 1.5 years ago to go self-employed and set up my own firm. And that's where we are today.
We love a woman with a plan.
I gave myself a 5.5 year plan when I was doing mortgages because I was 24 and a half at the time. So I was like, by the time I'm 30, I want to be chartered, advising again because I was going into power planning at that point. I was like, I want to be chartered, I want to be advising again. And that was basically it. And then slowly but surely realised that actually I was really fortunate with timing where I got chartered way quicker than I thought. So I was like, wow, it's going to have to be fellow now because you've done so many exams, you might as well keep going. Did not have a business did not think self-employment was going to be a thing for me.
Yeah.
I don't have a 5-year plan at the moment. I need a new one, but it worked well for me. So
yeah. No, I think it's amazing at 24 and a half to have a 5-year plan because I definitely didn't have one. I remember I did do like a business plan, but this was after I'd done my master's and this was for setting up like a publishing company of my own. But I just did it so I could pass my degree. I didn't do it thinking like, oh, this is my 5-year plan. But obviously when you're creating a business plan, you have to create it that way. And my mentor at the time was like, you should do this. You should go for it. And at the time I was 25 as well. And I was just like, no, I know me and I have so much to learn and figure out before I'm in a position to do that. But I think it's truly amazing that at that time you're like, this is the plan. This is where I'm going. And you did it.
I mean, I was heavily influenced by the fact that my other half is 5 years older than me. And so all of his friends at the time were kind of like not quite, well, he's 4 years older than me. So they were not quite 30, but they were all like that whole thing of, we need to do this before we're 30. We need to do that before we're 30. And I'm like, oh God, I've got 4 years. I need to I need to sort some stuff out. But yeah, so now I feel a bit like I need another one. I've got a 5-year plan for the business, but I feel like I need one for myself. But it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
So What were your initial expectations and apprehensions when joining the Verve Foundation's advisor incubator? Obviously, that probably wasn't in the 5-year plan, but it probably helped to move you on to the next 5 years of your life as to transitioning into like a business owner.
For me, one of the main reasons I applied for it was because I've had lots of financial business owner clients whilst being in the financial advice space. So I kind of understand to a degree what is needed to run a successful business just by being around successful business owners and just kind of looking at what they did. But obviously, most financial advisors deal with business owners that don't run financial advice firms. They run completely separate businesses in completely different sectors. So there's loads of really good information out there about how to run a successful business, having a business plan, all of that kind of stuff. But there wasn't much about a regulated business and how you make a regulated and authorized business a success. And so I went into the incubator program kind of knowing that there was stuff that I wasn't doing that I should be doing. But I think my biggest fear was like, in my head, it's like a to-do list of this, but what happens when the to-do list is like this long? There was that kind of apprehension of going, I don't know what I don't know. And as much as I've been in the industry for a long period of time, I'd obviously done the qualifications and ticked the relevant boxes. That didn't necessarily mean that I was prepared to run a regulated business. So to be fair, I do have even a year on to-do list that's still as long as my arm. But what was amazing about it was the incubator program itself is such a community and such a safe space, because every new cohort gets added into the same WhatsApp group with all of the previous cohorts, and everybody is in a slightly different position. You've got some people that haven't even made the leap to being business owners and setting up on their own yet. And then you've got some people that are well established. They just need to kind of maybe tighten up things from a regulated perspective and do the regulated side of it better than perhaps the general business owner side. So there's so much experience out there that immediately it was like, oh my God, thank God I'm not the only person that's struggling with this, or that maybe doesn't have the full plan or the full picture. And to be fair, that's still one of the best things that I've got out of the incubator. Obviously, very long to-do list of things that I'm slowly but surely ticking off. But it's the support around it where it was like, we're all feeling, everybody had the same fears of, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we should be doing. We know that there's stuff that we need to think about, but it's then, okay, I know I need to have a vulnerable clients policy. We know that we need that, but what's the best way to go about it? Where's the starting point? How do you kind of take what you've got and then make sure that it's compliant and all that kind of stuff? So that's just one example. But yeah, I think it was the kind of fear of actually what happens if I really, really, really don't know what I'm doing. Which wasn't the case. Luckily, there's still stuff where I was like, oh, I hadn't even considered that. Didn't even think that that was something that I needed to do. Cool. Okay, fine. Add it to the to-do list.
Yeah. As long you have that option. And I think that is probably one of the best assets from going into a community like that, is that you know that there's people that can help guide you and give you pointers in situations that you just probably would never consider, because again, you've never been through it. So how would you know?
Exactly.
But I also wanted to know, what was that moment? You touched on it a little bit before, but what was that specific moment where you were like, actually, I do want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go out and do this on my own. After having been in this industry for 11 years, I think I can do this.
I don't think I had one massive moment. I think there was an element of being pushed in that direction from kind of outside sources, or outside forces, shall I say. But I knew that I wanted to be client facing again, because I'd spent so long being power planning and kind of being in the background. I was like, I know that my skill set is people. Yes, I've got the technical side and that's fine, and I can do that, but it's not the bit that I enjoy. It's not the bit that I know that comes naturally to me. I have to work really hard at it. And so the company that I was working for at the time, I was a power planner, but we did a bit of a hybrid role where I was power planning and doing all of the technical stuff that a power planner does. But I was then also the main point of contact for a bank of clients working with different advisors. So I was having that day-to-day contact. And I progressed then from being a power planner, or what they called a client manager, to an associate financial planner. And it was as I was going through all of the kind of CAS stuff, the T&C programs, all of that, that I kind of went, I'm loving the exposure to being back, kind of not necessarily advising properly clients, but, doing that more client facing stuff. But actually, I fundamentally disagree with how we're going about it. Not the firm necessarily. Mm-hmm. I think what the company did is incredible and they still have amazing outcomes for clients. Mm-hmm. I just think as an industry, I was like, I'm just getting so fed up of only being able to help established, wealthy people in their 50s that maybe don't respect the advice of a 20-something-year-old at the time that, is in a very different stage of life. But at the same time, having these conversations with my friends or like friends of friends or my other half's friends or whoever it is, kind of going, oh, I've had less income this month because I've been tax wheeling and I don't really understand it. Can you help me? And it's like, unofficially, yes, I can explain to you what your tax code means and why maybe that's happened, or maybe to look at salary sacrifice, pension contributions instead of this because blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. But it being like bite-sized tidbits of information rather than actually being able to sit down and help them with the plan that they actually needed and wanted. So it was that kind of point where, for me, I just felt like the industry as a whole, it was always about assets, it's always about the money, it's always about, you need to have assets for us to manage, for us to be able to make you profitable and take a fee, and we'll throw a bit of financial planning in for free. Even if the financial planning was supposed to be the basis of it, there was still always that implied need of having assets to make it worthwhile and to make it profitable. And that bit was the bit that bugged me. So I think partly because of the experience that I'd had, where you had some clients that were objectively really rich and had really low financial well-being, and then you had some clients that objectively weren't that wealthy, but they had, they were able to live the life that they want. They were happy with their kind of lot in life, but they weren't necessarily getting the best service from existing advisors because they were below, they had only 100k invested rather than 500k invested, for example. So for me, I wanted to try and find a way where I could help people realize that there were options and that a little bit of plan and strategy can go a really long way. And it didn't matter how much you earn, but also that actually it wasn't really about the money anyway. It was about what makes you happy and what makes you tick. So the first kind of moment, shall we say, where I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do properly, was I was fortunate enough through my previous employer to do the financial wellbeing certificate through the Institute of Financial Wellbeing. And that was really big for me, because it kind of went, this thing that I have been trying to articulate to people has a name, has a thing, has a structure, has, is a defined entity, not just me kind of talking about feelings and being a bit mushy, which is often how it came across. So that was really big. And then when I realized that what I wanted to help clients do wasn't going to happen, even if I was really successful at that firm and did all of the things that the firm wanted me to do, I still felt disconnected with what the impact I actually wanted to make in people's lives was. Yeah. So ended up kind of having a few disagreements with my bosses about how I thought certain things should go, in terms of they wanted me to set up a new kind of a new service within the company, but it still didn't, in my opinion, go far enough as to what I think was possible. So I just went, do you know what, sod this, I'm going to do it myself. So then I kind of went self-employed on the basis that I was like, I want to set up a company and I want to help people. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm not CAS, so I can't technically give regulated advice. Do I want to give regulated advice? I'm not sure. So I then did my financial coaching qualification with Wise Monkey through Simon Gnessen. And that again was like a really big moment where I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want. This is the kind of almost missing piece, because there is absolutely power in the planning and the regulated side of things, but there is something that comes before. And if I want to help younger people with lower assets, they don't need this really kind of robust tax planning and financial planning piece over here that the industry is already mastering. They need something kind of in the middle between that side of things and then also the kind of non-regulated financial coaching side of money management, understanding different like the kind of financial education piece, I guess, as well, and understanding often it's not lack of trying, it's just that you're sabotaging yourself because you've got so many options that you pick one and then tell yourself you picked the wrong one and then you second guess yourself. So that's where the kind of proposition of Joyful Wealth kind of happened over time, where there was like a couple of different things that happened where I kind of went, okay, this thing that I believe in actually is defined and has a kind of a format already. Cool. That's great. I still want to use the regulated and technical knowledge that I've got, but in a lower level to help younger people. And it all kind of just started kind of building itself, if that makes sense. I didn't go out. This isn't advice for anybody wanting to go self-employed. Have more of a plan than I did. But, before you make the jump. But would I change it? No, because I know that those experiences have allowed me to mold my proposition and the services that I provide for clients and really properly put them at the center of it. So it's kind of, I never really set out to be an entrepreneur. I've always kind of gone, I've often thought differently to other people and then gone, but it's really clear. It's really obvious. It's really simple. Like, why can't people see that? And it was only when I realized that actually, until I went and did it and proved to people that it was a thing and that it could be done, that's where I think the entrepreneurial spirit came in, because I was like, right, no one else is going to do it. I'm just going to go and do it myself and I will make it work in whatever capacity.
I think sometimes it is just that having that thought that, why is no one else doing this? Okay, fine. I guess I have to do it myself, Yeah. And you're in a position where you're able to do that. And I think also, I always have conversations with financial advisors when I say, where I ask, it seems like the job of being a financial advisor is so closely tied to almost being like a counselor, because money is so emotional. It's tied up to so much of our emotions, and through your training that you've done, be able to speak to people and be like, hey, look out for this, similar to when a therapist is like, oh, if your mind starts spiraling, look out for that and catch it, then making people aware of that, I think, is super important.
I think so that's something that I come across quite a lot with clients. And so everybody, whether they're financial planning professionals, whether they are people that are kind of just engaged with the need for kind of maybe being a bit better with their money management, everybody knows that you need to have like an emergency fund, that you need to have like a pot of savings, right? But I take that a step further and kind of talk to people about the need to have 3 savings pots instead. So you have your emergency fund, which is exactly what it's meant for. It's 3 to 6 months worth of savings, of expenditure in a savings pot that you don't touch, that you leave as it is. And it's literally like, it's there. Don't touch it unless you really, really, really need to. Then you've got your like 12 to 18 months worth of like planned expenditure pot. So they're completely separate, ideally in proper different set savings pots. And that money is then for like, I don't know, Christmas, birthdays, holidays, the stuff that you want to spend money on. And some of it you can go, right, we want to go to Greece next year and we've got a budget of £2,000. Cool. We're going to set that £2,000 aside so that when we start booking, we've got the money available. You've kind of got the known expenditure. But what those two things do, and those pots are, I think, in my opinion, are essential and important. But what they do is they focus on tomorrow, they focus on the future, and they focus on that security bit. What they don't allow you to do is live for today. So that's where I have my third pot. And I do swear when I talk about it, but I'll call it the spontaneity fund, but it's actually the effort bucket. But when you say it properly, it obviously kind of gets a bit of a giggle. But what I say to people to do is to go, right, well, you still need to give yourself permission to be able to say yes to things and to feel like you have some spontaneity, because everybody, and this is where some of the financial coaching bit comes in, is through that training, I have learned that everybody has different ways and habits that they deal with money. But there is a balance is the important thing. It doesn't matter whether you prefer planning or security over spontaneity and carefree and fun. You need to find a balance between the two. So your emergency fund and your kind of fun money pot of like your holidays or the new kitchen or whatever it is, that allows you to feel that security and that planning bit. So you've got that base covered. But then you need to also remember to live for today, but you can do it in a way that allows for you to not completely go over budget and completely blow everything. Yeah. So what the spontaneity fund or the effort bucket does is it's a revolving bit. So you put 50 to 100 quid a month aside, and you might not need it every month. But let's say, and this depends on the individual, but like, you know, it's that thing of like, I've had a bad month, I want to go and do some shopping. You can still do that and allow yourself that kind of bit of spontaneity to go, sod it, I'm going to go and buy a new handbag or buy a new pair of shoes or whatever it might be, but without then risking the fact that you're then just going to completely dip into your savings pot that's maybe for something else and completely blow the budget. Yeah. And I love that because loads of clients that I've worked with, it really resonates with them because you're finding a really happy medium between enjoying yourself living for today, but not completely like ruining all of your savings goals and then having the guilt and the shame and the negativity that comes with that. How much you put in your bucket is entirely up to you. What you spend that on is entirely up to you. But I think being able to, and this is where I kind of go slightly full circle back to the bit about the proposition kind of building itself with some of the experiences, is the more I spoke to financial coaches, the more I realized that not many coaches understand the full financial planning and advice piece. But then not many financial planners and advisors understand the financial coaching piece. And it's that thing of like, the two of you can come together and do incredible stuff, but you just need to understand that you're coming together looking at things from two sides of the same coin. You've got the logical planning and strategy and the numbers bit, which is where the planning and the advice comes in. And then the coaching bit is supposed to be about the emotions and the nice stuff and the kind of behaviors and the money management side of things. I'm not saying that one or the other is better than the other. I actually think that both, if a client can benefit from both of them, that's where the real magic happens. And that's why I try and like sit in the middle of it and go, I'm not trying to keep the magic for myself. I want other people to experience the magic, but I'm like, this is the bit that I want to sit in because you really feel like you make a difference to people. Because I've got some clients where they've come to me in loads of credit card debt and not knowing how to get out of it. But objectively, they're high rate taxpayers and they have a really lovely house and they live in a nice area and but their financial well-being is so low because they're so restricted by their existing behaviors. But without understanding that, they're never going to be able to build the wealth that then allows them to have the planning and the strategy and the advice need. So it's like, but then I've also got some clients where they've built the wealth, but because they built it, they don't want to leave it. They were like, no, I'm going to squirrel it away and it's mine. I don't want to do anything with it. And I think a lot of other planners and advisors can relate to that, where particularly when clients hit retirement, you go from this accumulation building mindset to then a spending, enjoying mindset. And you have to be able to help people transition through that change. Otherwise, you're going to get frustrated with a client that never does what you think they should do. That then is compounding their inheritance tax problem or whatever. So, and I know we've gone slightly off topic, but this is always what happens.
No, I think this is so interesting about it.
But it for me, it's what I'm loving at the moment is I've only had my FCA commissions for a year. Well, just over a year. So I've proved a concept. That's how I feel like the first year of my business has been, is I've been self-employed running the business for 18 months now, but really I've only been actually seeing clients for a year now. And I've proven a concept. I've proven that it can work. Now it's a matter of refining it. And what's really nice is that I speak to lots of coaches and they can see the benefit in it because they can help clients get to a certain point, understanding then how they can transition to financial planning. But then also lots of other planners I've spoken to also kind of go, we can now see where financial coaching fits in with it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah. No, I've always thought when I've spoken to both advisors and financial coaches, I'm like, you guys should work together. Like this would be a dream team. This would be my dream team personally, someone who can focus on all areas while also helping to coach me. But I think there's so few businesses who look at it that way, but I think it's becoming more, I don't know if the term is popular, or it's just people are starting to pay attention now and understand the need.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of the two. And I think also because there has been quite a few changes in regulation that have kind of helped drive people's awareness towards things. So there's, the vulnerability stuff that came in a couple of years ago, I think it made a lot of financial advisors realize that actually they have a duty to be doing a lot more than just managing assets. They have a duty to the individual as much as the money. And then obviously you can't argue that consumer duty has made people more aware of not just the financial side of it, but also all of the other stuff. It's made a lot of other advisors kind of properly sit back and go, actually, what value are we providing to clients? Where is the value coming from? And how are we charging for it? I think as an exercise for the industry, I think that's been really positive. And that's not me necessarily saying that I think all aspects of consumer duty have been positive, but I think it's those things have helped maybe some of the pessimists or the naysayers. It's kind of forced them to take a bit of a step back and go, oh no, actually there is a point in doing this. It might not be right for our firm.
Yeah.
But we acknowledge that as an industry, there is a need for it.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of obviously what I do because I love it and I can see the power in it. But I've had a few conversations with other planners and advisors that just don't see the benefit and don't see the value. And it's like, do you know what? And that is absolutely fine. I totally agree that there is absolutely a need for some clients that just want the tax planning and that they just want the kind of, non-emotional side of it. They just want the money to be managed and that's it. But there is a growing need now because life is so complex nowadays, particularly for younger generations, that it's like they need a bit more hands-on help than just let me look after your pension and let's set up an ISA for you. And I'm aware that that's me massively reducing what a financial advisor does. And I get that. But that is the kind of, I get so many clients saying to me, I'm not wealthy enough. I don't have enough money. I'm not, I don't need financial planning because I'm not uber rich. And you go, but that's not the point. The idea of what it can do is it just allows you to be a bit more flexible when your circumstances change, to be able to adjust without it completely screwing everything up, basically. But there's nothing wrong with wanting someone in your corner to help you through that. And I've heard lots of advisors in the past, say about how it's a shame that there aren't enough younger clients, that we're not able to help things and it's like, well, yeah, okay, it's great that everybody's aware of the fact that we need to do something, but no one's actually doing anything. So come on.
We talk about the advice gap, the advisor gap, but who is actually bridging that gap?
Exactly.
You need to have solutions for that and meet the people that you want in the middle. And make it something that they're like, oh yeah, that is something that I can tap into, whether they are a prospective client or a prospective advisor. You have to make it appeal to them and make it seem like something that they can access.
And that's a really interesting point that you say there about not just the clients, but also the advisors, where I've got a couple of very good advisor friends that actually refer clients to me, which, and this is going back to some of the kind of business owner stuff, is we're all told that you build a relationship with an accountant and a solicitor or a couple of them, and that's going to be your main point of referrals alongside existing clients. But actually, what's been really nice is that I've been able to build relationships with other advisors. And I'm not saying they refer loads of clients over to me, but let's say you have a prospect come in and they don't quite have the assets that you want, and but you can see that they're really engaged with the need for the planning and the advice, and that you want to help them, but you don't really know, they don't really fit within your proposition and all that kind of stuff. I've been able to then build that relationship with those advisors where they can go, I want to help you, but it's not for me to help you. I'm going to pass you over to Jo because actually what you need is better suited for her to help you Whereas what I'm doing is I'm working with clients that are X value of assets, this age, this kind of life stage. So like I don't really deal with at retirement or in retirement because I want to be dealing with younger clients, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite nice where I can then go, well, I can still help you if you're close to retirement, but actually, if you need this, then actually that advisor over there is going to be better suited because of the specific needs that you've got. But then that advisor has the ability in the reverse to then go, actually, you're a 30-something young family looking at doing all of these different things, and there's so many life changes. Actually, I'm more suited to your 50-year-old retirees, so go speak to Jo and she'll be able to help. So it means that everybody wins because the client gets the advice that they want and need. Mm-hmm. Each advisor is happy that they're kind of staying in their lane and doing the bits that make them happy and dealing with their ideal clients without having to then spend time doing something for free or for a reduced fee because they're wanting to do the right thing by helping that client. So that's been quite unexpected. I didn't really go into it thinking that other advisors would be good sources of referrals for me, but they are.
But you never know. Yeah.
For that reason. So it's very much an evolving thing.
And a community. And I love that. And finally, I guess my question would be, what advice would you give to other financial advisors who are contemplating starting their own firms or considering joining the Verve Foundation's Advisor Incubator program?
So the Advisor Incubator was probably hands down the best thing that I did in the first year of my business. And I don't actually think it matters whether you do it in the first year or the first 5 years or whatever. I don't actually think it necessarily matters. The fact that for me, it just happened that it came at a really, really good time. But the program itself was a couple of hours on a Monday, every Monday for about 12 weeks, I think. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not an onerous thing. It's not a huge amount of time taken up, but the value that you get out of it in terms of the support network, both in terms of the community of other people in a similar situation to you, where you can either give back and help people that are slightly further down, further behind you, but also get help from people that are slightly further ahead of you. But also because it's still attached to the Verve group itself, you have a huge amount of support from like the compliance expertise, for example, at the Verve, or some of the power planning stuff and things like that, where it's often quite a lonely world being a sole advisor business owner. And what, for me, the incubator program allows for is, regardless of whether you're in a network, whether you're going DA, whether you're choosing to do it now or whether you're choosing to do it later on down the line, whatever it is, the program is set up so that it covers every single one of the regulated bases that you need it to. So Maddie, and I'm probably going to get a title wrong, so apologies, Maddie, if I get this wrong, but I think she's head of compliance, is her technical name at the Verve. And one of the things that she said in like one of the first sessions that really resonates with me is it doesn't matter whether you are actually directly authorized or whether you're part of a network and an AR, run your business as if you were a directly authorized firm. So yes, okay, fine, the network. So I'm part of a network, for example. Yes, okay, fine, the network itself might have official regulatory oversight of things, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an active involvement in it. And it just meant that anything that was then spoken about, even though I wasn't directly authorized, and we did a couple of sessions that were maybe a bit more geared towards those that were directly authorized, you kind of go, actually, do you know what? If that is what the FCA is requiring of someone directly authorized, I should still be doing it anyway, because that is good practice for my firm. And so whilst I might not be in a position to do it now, I now have a bit of a roadmap to get from where I am now to objectively being able to run a successful regulated business. Because there are so many amazing business coaches out there that help you build your business plan and help you do all of that kind of stuff from a general planning perspective.
Yeah.
But like, for example, one of the barriers that I come across all the time when I'm speaking to other business owners that aren't in financial services is you talk about marketing and social media.
Yeah.
They don't have financial promotions rules that they have to abide by. So it's that thing of, yes, okay, fine, I need to make sure I've got a good online presence. I've got a good all this, that, and the other, whatever it might be as far as social media is concerned. but the amount of red tape that's involved from a regulated business.
Yeah.
And that's where the incubator was really useful, that it was like, we can help you understand not just how to run a successful business, but how to run a successful regulated business, where you're finding that balance between actually doing the job itself of financial planning and advice and doing the bit that you want to be doing, but the bit that you need to and should be doing on the side of it, and finding really good balance, but also having the support if you hit a roadblock and go, no idea how to deal with this, you've then got that support. And even though I finished my incubator program just before Christmas, I think last year,
yeah,
I started it in September last year. Even now, like, stuff happens that you don't maybe plan for, or that, that an opportunity arises and you go, I have no idea how to deal with this, but I don't even think twice about reaching out to that community to go, has anybody else dealt with this? What has everybody else done? And it's a very, very much a safe space. And so for me, the value of doing it, like, apply for it 100%. If you're considering it, they do a mini cohort, and if you're already established and running your own firm, then they do obviously the full program. But it allows you a safe place to kind of play around with ideas, to figure out stuff. And what was really nice is the fact that because the groups are so varied and different, like, there was a couple of sessions where we were talking about fees and how you structure your proposition and all that kind of stuff. And I'm aware that my business is a little bit different to a lot of other financial planning practices. But what was nice is that sometimes there'll be sessions I'm like, I've got nothing to add here, because I'm not running an AUM focused business. But listening, just being a bit of a fly on the wall and listening to other business owners that are planners discussing that, you can go, well, I disagree with that. I don't necessarily like that fee structure. I think it can be a bit restrictive for clients. But listening to other people talking about their propositions, you can be that maybe challenging voice, but at the same time, I can sit there and go, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. I've got conviction in what I'm doing now, without feeling like you're having to argue with people all the time.
Yeah.
And because everybody's very much constantly refining, there's zero judgment of going, you do you. It's not how I want to run my business. It's not the way that I want to set my business up, but I respect your reasonings for it, and I respect what you're trying to achieve with it. So having that kind of variation and diversity in experience, propositions, all of that kind of stuff really allows you to focus in. And like, one of the best things I got out of it, apart from obviously the amazing community, was being able to just observe other business owners doing in the same space as me, kind of going, okay, I like what they're doing, maybe don't like what they're doing, think that's a really good idea. Okay, now I can tighten up and make sure that my stuff is really good, because now I've got motivation, conviction, and also a really safe sounding board to go, how does this land with other people? Does it make sense? Have I completely misunderstood the rules? So I would honestly advise and I do genuinely, if anybody ever mentions to me about the fact that they're even considering it, I'm like, go speak to Hayley, go speak to the Verve Foundation, have a look at it. I think the foundation itself is incredible, looking at what they do with their We Are Change students and stuff like that, where it makes me happy to see that there is initiatives like that in the industry, because I think it's been missing. Yeah. I think it's really exciting to see where it's going to go. And there's a selfish part of me that's really pleased that I'm a very, very small part of it.
Yeah. No, because I think it also goes back to that conversation we had about, the people complain about there's not enough young clients, or there's not enough young advisors, and they're not doing anything about it. But from what I've seen, the Verve Foundation is the first one to actually be like, hey, we are actually doing something about it. And then inspiring someone like you to be able to actually have the ability to also then look at the client side of things. So honestly, all good all around. And I'm excited to see it continue to grow.
Me too. And I mean, it's really thorough as well. They do not leave a stone unturned, because they look at all of the FCA requirements from a regulated business perspective, but then also things that are just going to make you a better advisor and a better planner, as well as a better business owner. So, and it's, what's nice as well is the fact that there's no stuffy corporate feel about it either, which also is nice, where they're very informal sessions. but you've still got their sponsors that are coming to do talks and stuff. So you've got like Royal London or Parmenion or whoever it might be coming to talk to you about something. But it's all like, there's no kind of agenda. There's no one pushing anything. It's all like, we're all trying to work together to improve the industry. So let's just, do it. You're doing this, let's just do it. And let's all just build this amazing community. So if you are even thinking about it,
just go for it.
Do it. Yeah, exactly. And I've said this to Hayley as well, that because I've got so much out of it, I will always give back to it. And I think a lot of the other advisors that are in the programs and the previous cohorts and stuff, we all feel that kind of pay it forward attitude. So if any of you are thinking about it, give me a shout and I will happily chat you through the specifics of what I got out of it. Because I'm a huge advocate of what they've done. It honestly changed the way I do my business in the best way possible. Even if I do still have a really, really, really long to-do list, that is still...
I don't think that's ever going to change. I think you'll be near retirement age and still being like, there's so much for me to do.
And this is still from the incubator program. It's still Hayley and Maddie and Kathy telling me that I need to do these things and I still haven't done them. But I have thought about them.
Yeah, you have them on a list. They're going to get done or accomplished at some point. And if they don't, maybe they weren't that important. I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for speaking with me today, Jo. This was a really great conversation.
You're very welcome. It's been a real pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.